Have you ever felt that someone in your life drains your energy like an emotional vampire? Today we'll discover the 10 signs that will help you identify those toxic people who, without realizing it, could be sabotaging your happiness. The last sign will surprise you. At the end of the video, I will give you several practical tools to deal with these people and regain your emotional well-being. Before we begin, if you find value in these videos, please subscribe and click the bell to stay updated. Ready to get started? Let's start with the first on our list, the master manipulator. Have you ever felt like someone is pulling your strings as if you were a puppet in their personal play? This character is like an emotional puppeteer, pulling the strings of your feelings with a dexterity that would make the best magician pale. But don't worry, today we're going to learn how to cut those invisible strings and regain control of our own story. Manipulators are deception artists, adept at using subtle tactics that often go unnoticed. One of their favorite weapons is emotional blackmail. They make you feel guilty for not doing what they want, as if you are responsible for their happiness. If you really loved me, you would do this for me. Sound familiar? Another classic tactic is guilt. They are able to turn any situation into your responsibility. If something goes wrong, somehow it's always your fault. It's as if they have a PhD in making others feel bad about themselves. But wait, there's more. Manipulators are masters in the art of reality distortion. They can deny things that clearly happened or exaggerate events to fit their narrative. It's like living in a movie where the script is constantly changing and you're the only one who didn't get the memo. A recent study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships revealed something surprising. People who have been in relationships with emotional manipulators often experience a decrease in self-esteem and confidence that can last for years after the relationship has ended. It's as if the manipulator left a toxic imprint on our psyche. But all is not lost. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had some brilliant ideas about how to handle manipulators. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote, "The best way to get even with an enemy is not to look like him." In other words, the best defense against a manipulator is to maintain your integrity and not fall for their games. So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives? First, practice mindfulness. Observe your emotions and the tactics others use to influence you. When you feel someone is trying to manipulate you, take a step back and ask yourself, is this my true emotion, or am I being influenced? Second, set clear boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no when something doesn't align with your values. Remember, you are not responsible for the happiness of others at the expense of your own. Third, cultivate your self-esteem. The more self-confident you are, the less vulnerable you will be to manipulation. As Epictetus, another great Stoic, would say, "No man is free unless he is master of himself." Fourth, practice empathy, but with limits. Understand that often manipulators act out of their own insecurities and fears. However, understanding does not mean accepting or tolerating harmful behaviours. Let us now turn to the second signal. Do you ever feel like nothing you do is good enough? Welcome to the world of the relentless critic, that inner judge, who seems to have a PhD in finding fault. But don't worry, today we're going to learn how to silence that voice and regain our confidence. Imagine for a moment that your life is a reality show, and the relentless critic is the toughest judge on the panel. No matter how well you do, he always has something negative to say. "Well, it wasn't bad, but," is his favorite phrase. It's as if he has a radar to detect imperfections, no matter how small. This inner judge not only criticizes your actions, but also your thoughts, your appearance, and even your dreams. "Do you really think you can accomplish that?" is his favorite question. And the worst part is that, over time, you begin to believe him. But here's the truth. This relentless critic is nothing more than a character in your mind, fueled by past experiences and future fears. It has no real power over you unless you give it power. The problem is that, like a virus, this critical attitude can be contagious. I myself have noticed that when I spend time with people who tend to criticize everything, I start to adopt that same attitude. It's like when you travel to another country and the accent rubs off on you. Imagine an Andalusian spending time with a Basque. He would end up saying "acho" with a northern accent. Marcus Aurelius, that wise Roman emperor, had something to say about this. Do not be disturbed. All things follow the nature of the universe. In a short time, you will be nobody and you will be nowhere like Hadrian and Augustus. In other words, don't let the opinions of others affect you so much. In the end, we are all stardust. But how can we apply this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives? First, recognize that you are more than your accomplishments or failures. Your value as a person does not depend on what you do or don't do. Second, practice self-compassion. Try to talk to yourself as you would talk to a good friend. Would you tell your best friend that he or she is a failure for making a mistake? Probably not. So why would you tell yourself? Third, surround yourself with supportive and inspiring people. Remember, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with relentless critics, you will become one. But if you surround yourself with people who see the best in you, you will begin to see the best in yourself. Fourth, practice gratitude. Instead of focusing on what is missing or what is wrong, take time each day to appreciate what you have and what you have accomplished. Fifth, walking away is sometimes the best option. If there is someone in your life who constantly criticizes you and makes you feel less than, it is valid to put distance. Your mental well-being is more important than pleasing others. Now we will address the third sign, the narcissist. When the world revolves around them, or so they think. Do you know how to identify a narcissist? Don't worry, they'll tell you themselves. In fact, they're probably already shouting it from the rooftops, social media, and any reflective surface they can find. Narcissists are like human suns, bright, warm, and charming, until you get too close and you get burned. They are experts at attracting attention, always ready to recount their epic feats or complain about how the world doesn't appreciate their genius. But what's behind that facade of supreme confidence? Psychology tells us that narcissism often hides a deep insecurity. It's as if they wear shiny armor to hide their vulnerabilities. The characteristics of narcissism are like a tasting menu of toxic behaviors. First, we have the lack of empathy. To them, your problems are insignificant compared to their daily drama. Then there's the constant need for admiration. If you're not praising them, are you really listening to them? Let's not forget the grandiosity. Their achievements are always epic, their talents unmatched. And of course, the manipulation. They are capable of twisting any situation to make themselves look like heroes or victims, as it suits them. In interpersonal relationships, narcissists are like emotional vacuum cleaners. They suck up all the attention and support, leaving others emotionally exhausted. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit with your energy and affection. But wait, there's more. In the age of social media, narcissism is having its moment in the sun. A recent University of Michigan study revealed a 30% increase in narcissistic traits among young people over the past decade. Instagram, TikTok, and company have become the perfect playground for digital narcissists. Imagine a world where every selfie, every post, every story is an opportunity to feed that insatiable ego. Social media has created an ecosystem where constant validation is just a like away. It's as if we have built a factory of narcissists without realizing it, but all is not lost. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had some brilliant ideas about how to deal with difficult people without losing our integrity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom when faced with a narcissist? First, practice emotional detachment. Observe their behavior as if you were a scientist studying a fascinating species. Curiosity, not judgment. Second, narcissists are like children in adult bodies. They need firm but compassionate boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no when they cross the line. Third, cultivate your own self-esteem. The more confident you are in yourself, the less their manipulative tactics will affect you. It's like building an emotional shield against their drama. Finally, practice compassion from a distance. Remember that behind that facade of greatness is a deeply insecure person. That doesn't justify their behavior, but it can help you keep perspective. Now on to number 4, the silent saboteur. When your success is your failure, Imagine for a moment that your life is a spy movie. You are the protagonist pursuing your dreams and goals, but there is a secret agent of failure operating in the shadows, placing obstacles in your path when you least expect it. This is the silent saboteur, a master of the art of subtle sabotage. These saboteurs are like emotional ninjas. They move stealthily, leaving a trail of doubts, insecurities, and obstacles in their wake. They can be that friend who always has a reason why your business idea won't work, or that family member who constantly reminds you of your past failures just before an important interview. Their tactics are as varied as they are insidious. They may spread subtle rumors that undermine your credibility, forget to give you crucial information for a project, or even directly sabotage your work when no one is looking. It's as if they have a secret manual entitled, "How to Ruin Other People's Success Without Them Noticing." But why do they act this way? Psychology gives us some clues. At the heart of this behavior often lies a deep insecurity. The success of others acts as a mirror, reflecting their own perceived fears and failures. It's as if they think, if I can't succeed, no one else should. Envy also plays a crucial role. A recent Harvard University study revealed that people who are highly prone to social sabotage often experience elevated levels of envy and low self-esteem. It's as if they see success as a limited pie. If you get a slice, it means less to them. In addition, sabotage can be a devious way of maintaining control. By keeping others in their place, the saboteur feels they are preserving their own position or importance. It is a desperate strategy to feel superior in a world they perceive as threatening. Faced with these agents of failure, Stoic wisdom offers us a powerful shield. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, left us a valuable teaching. It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have of them. What does this mean in the context of silent sabotage? It means that the real power is not in the saboteur's actions, but in how we choose to interpret and respond to them. It is as if we have a secret superpower, the ability to choose our reaction. So how can we apply this wisdom in our daily lives? First, cultivate self-awareness. Learn to recognize the subtle signs of sabotage. Does someone always have a discouraging word when you share your plans? Do you notice that a certain person always seems to be around when things go wrong? And second, keep the focus on your own goals. As Epictetus would say, keep your attention focused on what depends on you. You can't control the actions of others, but you can control your response and your determination. Before moving on to the fifth sign of toxic people, if you are liking the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel with the bell so you don't miss future videos. By the way, according to statistics, only 5% of those who watch my videos are subscribed. So if you value the work I do and want to support me, subscribe now with the bell and join that wise minority. And if you enjoy this type of content as much as I do, comment, "I love wisdom." Let's keep learning together and improving our lives. Number 5. Have you ever felt like someone is trying to run every aspect of your life as if you were a character in their own chess game? Welcome to the world of the obsessive controller, where your freedom is constantly at stake. Imagine for a moment that your life is a dance. You want to move freely, to express yourself, to enjoy the rhythm, but there is someone who insists on keeping the pace, who criticizes your every move, who tells you how, when, and where to dance. That is the obsessive controller in action. These individuals are like conductors who have lost the score. They try to micromanage every aspect of the lives of those around them, from the most important decisions to the most insignificant details. You should dress like this. You shouldn't hang out with those friends. You have to do things my way. Sound familiar? But what is behind this behavior? Psychology gives us some clues. Often, this need for control stems from a deep insecurity and fear of chaos. It is as if the world is a scary and unpredictable place, and the only way to feel safe is to control everything and everyone around them. The impact of this behavior on relationships can be devastating. A recent study from the University of Michigan revealed that people in relationships with obsessive controllers experience 50% higher stress levels than average. It's like living in an invisible cage where your autonomy and self-esteem slowly erode. Obsessive controllers have an arsenal of tactics. They may use guilt as a weapon, making you feel bad for making your own decisions, or they may resort to subtle manipulation, presenting their desires as being for your own good. "I only want what's best for you," they say, while pushing you down the path they have chosen. But all is not lost. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had some brilliant ideas about how to maintain our inner freedom, even in the most difficult circumstances. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, once said, "No man is free unless he is master of himself." This teaching is like a key that unlocks the cage of obsessive control. It reminds us that, although we cannot control the actions of others, we always have the power to choose our own responses and thoughts. So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom when faced with an obsessive controller? Here are some practical techniques. First, practice assertiveness. Communicate your ideas and desires clearly and respectfully. Remember, your voice and opinions are valid. Second, cultivate your self-esteem. The more self-confident you are, the less power the controllers will have over you. Third, seek support. Surround yourself with people who respect your autonomy and encourage you to be yourself. Fourth, practice emotional detachment. When someone tries to control you, take a mental step back and look at the situation objectively. Remember, you are not responsible for satisfying another person's need for control. Your freedom and autonomy are fundamental rights that deserve to be protected. Number 6, have you ever had that feeling that someone is telling you a tall tale? Welcome to the fascinating world of compulsive liars, those artists of fiction who turn reality into their personal canvas. Imagine for a moment that you are in an incredible story, one that makes science fiction movies look like documentaries. That's the hallmark of the compulsive liar. They can concoct stories so elaborate they would make a Hollywood screenwriter blush. But why do they lie? Psychology gives us some interesting clues. According to a study published in the Journal of, full reference missing here, the reasons for lying are varied: to avoid conflict, to impress others, or even to maintain a distorted image of themselves. It is as if they live in a parallel reality, one where they are the protagonists of a movie that only they can see. The problem is that they drag us all into their imaginary film set. Now, spotting a liar is not as easy as the TV shows have led us to believe. No, my friend, not all liars avoid eye contact or touch their nose when they lie. In fact, a University of Michigan study found that expert liars often make more eye contact than honest people. Surprise. So how can we identify these masters of deception? Pay attention to inconsistencies in their stories. Compulsive liars often have difficulty keeping their lies consistent over time. It's as if they are weaving a web of fiction and sooner or later become entangled in their own threads. Another indication is a lack of specific details or an abundance of irrelevant details. When someone is telling the truth, they can usually provide specific details about their experience. Liars, on the other hand, tend to be vague or, paradoxically, overload you with unnecessary details to distract you from the lack of consistency in their story. But it's not all negative. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had an interesting perspective on how to deal with liars. As the philosopher Seneca said, "The truth is braver than a lie because the lie is always afraid of being found out." In other words, the best way to handle a liar is to stay true to the truth and your own values. So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives? First, cultivate honesty in your own interactions. The more we value truth in our lives, the easier it will be to recognize lies in others. Second, practice compassion. Often, people who lie compulsively do so out of insecurity or fear. Understanding this doesn't mean you should accept their lies, but it can help you respond with empathy instead of anger. Third, set clear boundaries. If you identify someone who consistently lies, it is important to communicate that you value honesty and that repeated lies can damage your relationship. Finally, remember that you cannot control the actions of others, only your response to them. As Epictetus, another great Stoic, would say, "It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Number 7, Do you ever feel like your life has become an emotional roller coaster? Welcome to the confusing world of the emotional chameleon, where every day is a new adventure and not always the fun kind. Imagine for a moment that your friend Carlos is like an emotional box of chocolates. One day he's sweet and charming, the next he's bitter and distant, and the third he's an explosive mix of flavors you didn't even know existed. Living or working with an emotional chameleon is like trying to navigate a stormy sea with a constantly changing map. These emotional chameleons are experts at keeping everyone around them in a state of constant uncertainty. One moment they are euphoric, celebrating life as if they've won the lottery, and the next they are plunged into a depression so deep that it feels like the world is ending. And the worst thing is that this change can happen in a matter of minutes, without warning. But why are they like this? Psychology gives us some clues. Often behind this emotional instability lie untreated personality disorders, unresolved traumas, or simply a lack of emotion management skills. It's as if their emotional thermostat is constantly out of whack, unable to maintain a stable temperature. The problem is that this erratic behavior can create an environment of constant stress and uncertainty for those around you. It's like living in a house where the furniture changes places every time you blink. You never know if you're going to sit comfortably or fall backwards. A recent University of California study revealed that people who live or work with emotionally unstable individuals experience 40% more daily stress and are 30% more likely to develop anxiety. It's as if the emotional chaos is contagious, spreading to everyone nearby. In interpersonal relationships, the impact can be devastating. Imagine trying to build a relationship on emotional quicksand. One day, you're the love of their life. The next, you're the source of all their problems. This emotional roller coaster can leave people feeling confused, exhausted, and questioning their own sanity. Therefore, cultivate your own emotional stability. The more centered you are, the less you will be affected by the fluctuations of others. It is like being a rock in the middle of a turbulent river. Number 8. Have you ever met someone who seems to have a PhD in blaming others? Welcome to the exhausting world of the professional victimizer, where everything is the universe's fault but their own. Imagine for a moment that life is a big board game. We all roll the dice, move forward, backward, win and lose, but the professional victimizer plays by a completely different set of rules. For them, every bad roll is a cosmic conspiracy against them. These masters of lamentation have a special talent for turning any situation into a personal tragedy. Is it raining on their day off? Clearly the weather has something against them. Didn't get the promotion? Must be because the boss hates them. Is your coffee cold? Obviously the barista has a personal vendetta against them. It's like they live in a movie where they are the misunderstood protagonist and the rest of the world is the villain. The problem is that, in their eagerness to be the perpetual victim, they end up becoming the antagonists of their own story. But what is behind this constant need to blame others? Often, this behavior is rooted in low self-esteem and a deep-seated fear of failure. It is easier to blame the world than to face our own limitations and mistakes. It's as if they have an invisible shield that deflects all responsibility. It's not my fault. It's just that the world is against me. This phrase is their mantra, their shield and their sword. The impact of this behavior on relationships can be devastating. It's exhausting to be around someone who constantly victimizes. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit with your empathy and support. A recent Stanford University study revealed that people who tend to blame others for their problems are 30% less likely to achieve their personal and professional goals. Not surprisingly, it's hard to grow and improve when it's always others who need to change. Remember, it is not the things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have of them. This is like an antidote to the poison of victimhood. It reminds us that we have the power to choose how we interpret and respond to the events of our lives. So how can we apply this stoic wisdom when faced with a professional victimizer, or when we fall into this trap ourselves? Here are some practical techniques. 1. Practice personal responsibility. When faced with any situation, ask yourself, what can I do to make this better? It's more empowering than looking for culprits. 2. Change. Why me? 2. What can I learn from this? This simple reorientation can transform obstacles into opportunities for growth. 3. Cultivate gratitude. It's hard to feel like a victim when you focus on what you have instead of what you lack. 4. Practice empathy with boundaries. Understand that behind victimhood there is pain, but don't feed the cycle of complaining. 5. Use humor as a tool. Sometimes a well-placed joke can help put things in perspective. You know, I think the universe has better things to do than conspire against us. Number 9. Have you ever met someone who lives in their own movie? Imagine for a moment that life is one big movie set. Most of us are actors following the script of reality, improvising from time to time. But the reality denier is like a director of his own surreal movie. These people are like perception wizards, with the uncanny ability to distort reality to perfectly fit their own narratives. If the facts don't fit their worldview, they simply rewrite them. It's as if they have a magic pencil that can erase and rewrite reality at will. But what is behind this constant denial of reality? Psychology gives us some clues. Often, this behavior is a form of self-protection against uncomfortable or painful truths. It is as if these people have built an elaborate emotional house of cards and are afraid that the slightest breeze of reality will topple it. A recent Stanford University study revealed something surprising. People with a tendency to deny reality experience higher levels of anxiety and depression in the long run. It's as if by constantly trying to escape the truth, they trap themselves in a prison of their own making. The impact of this behavior on relationships and the social environment can be devastating. It is like trying to play a game where the rules are constantly changing at a person's whim. Friends, family members, and co-workers can become confused, frustrated, and even deceived as they try to navigate this shifting terrain of reality. But the real danger lies in allowing someone to constantly distort our perception of reality. It's like letting someone put virtual reality goggles on us that show a completely different world. Over time, we can lose our own moral compass and sense of truth. So how can we address this problem? This is where the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, comes to our rescue. He wrote, "If it is not true, don't say it. If it is not right, don't do it." This teaching is like a beacon in the fog of denial, reminding us of the importance of seeking and accepting the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that truth, though sometimes painful, is the path to freedom and inner peace. It is like taking a bitter medicine that cures us in the end. He would say that it is better to face reality, however hard it may be, than to live in a comfortable but false illusion. So how can we apply this wisdom when faced with a reality denier or when we notice denial tendencies in ourselves? Here are some practical techniques. 1. Cultivate a love for truth. Make the search for truth a fundamental value in your life. 2. Practice self-awareness. Observe your own tendencies to deny or distort reality. 3. Seek multiple perspectives. Don't just stick to your side of the story. 4. Accept uncertainty. Reality is often complex and ambiguous. It's okay not to have all the answers. 5. Be compassionate but firm. When dealing with a denier of reality, offer support but keep your feet on the ground of truth. Number 10. We mentioned envy in passing earlier, but now let's dive right into this fascinating topic. Envy, my friends, is the last sign of toxic people that we will explore today. Envy is like a silent poison that eats away at relationships from the inside. Imagine that person who always has a scathing comment when you share good news, or who minimizes your accomplishments with, "Ah, lucky you." Those are classic symptoms of toxic envy. But why are some people so prone to envy? Psychology tells us that envy often stems from deep insecurity and a sense of inadequacy. It is as if these people live in a world of scarcity, where the success of others automatically means their own failure. But here's the interesting thing. Envy, in a way, can be a sign that you're doing something right. As Oscar Wilde once said, "To speak ill of others is the revenge of the unsuccessful." Think about it. No one envies someone who is not accomplishing anything. This brings us to a phrase that I love and that comes in handy right now. No one who is above you is going to criticize you. People criticize the one on top. Isn't it fascinating? It's as if envy and criticism are an inverted barometer of your success. So how can we handle the toxic envy of others without falling into their game? First, recognize it for what it is: insecurity in disguise. Second, don't let it stop you. Your success is not an insult to anyone else. As Epictetus would say, do not seek to make things happen as you wish them to happen. Wish them to happen as they happen, and you will be happy. In other words, the best response to envy is to keep improving, keep growing, keep shining your own light. Finally, remember that your value is not in being better than others, but in being the best version of yourself. It's as if envy and criticism were the price of admission to the Success Club. It's not a nice price to pay, but isn't that better than the alternative? Imagine a life where no one envied you or criticized you. Sounds peaceful, yes, but it also sounds like stagnation. Remember, you have the power to choose who you spend your time with. It's time to take charge of your life. Value your peace of mind and surround yourself with people who inspire and uplift you. Don't be afraid to set boundaries and stay away from toxic relationships. Your well-being is paramount. If you've made it this far, write in the comments "emotional wellness" so I know who the victors are that made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this in the future. Share this video with those who may find it helpful and consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. Link in the commentary below. Now, watch this video on habits for a longer and happier life. Don't miss it to keep improving your well-being and enjoy more valuable tips.